The morning Marcus Hale, 43 years old, CEO of Hale Technologies, the kind of man whose mere footsteps could silence a boardroom, stepped into the glass elevator of his corporate tower. He expected nothing unusual. His life was routine dressed as power. Every day began with precision, discipline, and an unspoken rule. Nothing interrupted his schedule. Today was supposed to be just like that. He reviewed the day's agenda in his mind as the elevator rose: an early investor roundtable, a product launch review, a tense board meeting about overseas expansion, brunch with the mayor, a press briefing, and later, a charity gala he had already tried, twice, to skip. He had no space for surprises, which was why fate decided to deliver him the biggest one of his life. When he stepped out onto the 17th floor, the customer support floor, the one he never visited without notice, he was greeted by a scene he didn't expect. Employees weren't scrambling to appear busy as they usually did. They weren't whispering nervously or straightening their ties. They were all distracted, worried, focused on something near the help desk. Marcus followed their line of sight. A small boy, maybe 8 or 9, stood alone, clutching a faded backpack in front of him like a shield. He had dark brown hair in need of a trim, big scared eyes, and shoes that looked like they'd walked too many miles. His socks didn't match, his knees were scraped, his breathing was shallow, like he was trying very hard not to cry. Marcus frowned. Children didn't belong here. Hale Technologies wasn't a place for families or warmth. It was a place of deadlines, efficiency, and constant pressure. No one brought kids to this building unless there was an emergency. And that boy looked like an emergency. Still, Marcus didn't slow. He never did. He had trained himself to walk past anything that was not his responsibility. Efficiency was his compass. Emotional involvement was noise. He passed the boy, his loafers clicking sharply against the marble. But then, "Sir." The whisper was so soft Marcus almost missed it. "Sir, please." He stopped mid-step. Something in that voice, something raw, trembling, painfully vulnerable, lodged itself under his ribs. He turned. The boy had taken 2 steps toward him. His chin trembled. He held a crumpled plastic card in both hands, a Hale Technologies employee ID badge. It was bent, old, and covered with fingerprints. The boy lifted it slightly, as if presenting proof of something sacred. "Sir." His breathing hitched. "My mom never came back home." The lobby noise seemed to fade. Phones, keyboards, printers, all vanished behind a sudden, heavy stillness. Marcus stared at the boy. He didn't blink. "Your mother works here?" he asked, his voice lower than usual. The boy nodded quickly. "Why, yes." He held up the ID card fully now. "Elena Ruiz, customer support, senior representative. Employee since year 7. Recognition flickered in Marcus's memory. He had seen her around. Always polite, always working overtime, a quiet smile, tired eyes, but dependable. He had never spoken to her. CEOs didn't speak directly to support reps, but he remembered her professionalism. "She didn't come home last night," the boy continued, his words shaking. "She always comes home, always." Security personnel approached from the side, ready to escort the boy away for disruption, but Marcus raised a hand sharply without looking away. "Back off," he ordered. They froze. The boy looked up at Marcus like he was the last piece of solid ground before an ocean. "She told me," he whispered, wiping his nose on his sleeve, "that if anything ever happened, I should come here. To her work." Marcus felt something shift, a memory rising like a ghost from deep waters. A police station lobby, a flickering fluorescent light, an 8-year-old version of himself waiting for a mother who never returned. A promise broken, a childhood carved by absence. He swallowed hard. "What's your name?" Marcus asked gently. "Leo," the boy said. "Leo Ruiz." "Leo," Marcus repeated. The name felt heavy on his tongue. "You're saying your mother didn't come home after her shift yesterday?" Leo nodded, clutching the ID card with white knuckles. "She texted me at 6:18. She said she was leaving work. She didn't text again." Marcus's mind sharpened, shifting from emotional shock to analytical mode. Elena's shift had ended at 6. She lived 30 minutes away. She should have been home long before 7. "What about your father?" Marcus asked carefully. Leo shook his head. "I don't have one." The simplicity of the statement, so casual, so practiced, stabbed Marcus in a place he did not allow anyone to see. "And you've been waiting alone?" Marcus asked quietly. Leo nodded again, more slowly now, like he was ashamed. "I waited all night. I thought maybe she'd come in the morning. But she didn't. So I got dressed and walked here. He looked down. It took me a long time. Marcus's jaw tightened. You walked here alone? Mom says the bus is too expensive. And she said if I ever needed help, I should find someone here. Someone she trusts. His lip quivered. I think she meant you. The world tilted, just for a heartbeat. Marcus Hale had built a reputation like stone. Cold, precise, unattached. He wasn't the kind of man people trusted with their children. And yet, this boy stood before him, trembling, exhausted, believing in him with the desperate certainty only a child could have. Sir, Leo whispered, can you help me find her? Something inside Marcus cracked. He wasn't looking at a stranger's child anymore. He was staring at the ghost of who he used to be, lost, scared, abandoned. He crouched down slowly, ignoring the gasp from his assistant behind him. CEOs didn't kneel for anyone. Leo, he said, voice firm but warm, I am going to help you. Leo's breath escaped in a small, broken whisper of relief. Marcus extended his hand. Leo hesitated only a moment before placing his small fingers into Marcus's palm. The contact sent a strange, electric certainty through Marcus's chest, something fierce and protective. He stood, still holding Leo's hand, and turned to the employees who had gathered. Clear the floor, he said. Cancel my meetings. The room went silent. His assistant blinked rapidly. Sir, you have, cancel, everything. It was the first time in 15 years he had ever said those words. Security flanked him, but Marcus didn't let go of Leo's hand. They walked toward the exit, past staring employees, shocked executives, and a receptionist who silently mouthed thank you. Marcus didn't know where this path would lead. He didn't know what he would find. He didn't know what dangers waited behind the unexplained disappearance of a hardworking single mother. But he did know one thing with absolute clarity. He would not abandon this boy. Not like he had been abandoned. And as the glass doors opened and the morning wind swept over them, Marcus made a silent vow. Police station smelled like stale coffee, damp jackets, and exhaustion. Officers shuffled between desks, phones rang endlessly, printers spat out forms. Normally, Marcus would have hated this kind of chaos. Now he barely noticed it. Leo sat beside him in the lobby, legs swinging restlessly, hands gripping his backpack straps. Every few minutes, the boy looked toward the door as if expecting his mother to walk in at any moment. She knows this place, Leo said quietly. If she got lost, she'd come here. Marcus swallowed. We'll find her. But his voice didn't sound as steady as before. An officer named Sergeant Danvers, a broad man with kind eyes that didn't fully mask exhaustion, sat across from them. Mr. Hale, he said carefully, I understand your concern. But missing person reports require. This is not a random disappearance, Marcus cut in. She vanished after leaving my building. At least 10 cameras should have caught her route home. Danvers exhaled. Yes, but, Marcus leaned forward. A child walked across the entire city alone to report his mother missing. That alone should fast-track the case. Leo's shoulders tensed. He looked down, ashamed. Marcus softened his voice. He shouldn't have had to do that. The sergeant studied Marcus for a long beat, then nodded. Okay, Danvers said quietly. We'll escalate. Give me her name again. Ruiz, Marcus said. Elena Ruiz. Danvers typed rapidly, frowning at his screen. She didn't clock in today. No transactions on her bank card. Phone last pinged at 6:42 p.m. near an old industrial district. Leo's breath caught. That's not on her way home. No, the sergeant agreed. It's the opposite direction. Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Why would she go there? He murmured. Danvers didn't answer. He didn't have to. They all knew the area, the abandoned warehouse district once used by shipping companies, later bought by private storage firms, now mostly forgotten. Could she have gone there accidentally? Leo asked in a small voice. Like she got confused. Marcus shook his head. Your mother isn't reckless, Leo. She's not, Leo said fiercely. She always knows where she's going. Something flickered in Danvers's expression, concern mixed with calculation. I'll put out a patrol request, he said. But with no sign of struggle and no. Marcus stood abruptly. We're going. Danvers blinked. Excuse me, we're going to the industrial district, Marcus said. Now, you can't do that on your own, Danvers protested. We need a warrant if you enter private property. I don't intend to wait for someone to file paperwork, Marcus snapped. Leo tugged Marcus's sleeve. You're going to look for her right now. Marcus looked down at the boy, his pale face, his trembling fingers, his exhaustion hanging like weight on his shoulders, and something inside him solidified. Yes, he said, right now. The black SUV cut through the city like a shadow. Rain streaked the windows, blurring the streetlights into streaks of gold and white. Leo sat beside Marcus in the back seat, knees drawn up, jacket wrapped around him. You okay? Marcus asked. Leo nodded, but his voice betrayed him. What if she's hurt? Marcus met his eyes. Then we'll get her help. And if she's, he couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. Leo, we're going to find her. The boy looked out the window again, voice barely audible. She always waits for me. I don't want to be late this time. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Behind them, 2 security SUVs followed, headlights slicing through the rain. They weren't armed police, but they were trained, disciplined, and personally loyal to Marcus. When they reached the industrial district, the city lights faded behind them. Cracked pavement, rusted fences, graffiti on every wall, rain pooled in potholes and dripped from broken roofs. This place is creepy, Leo whispered. Marcus squeezed his shoulder. Stay close to me. They approached the warehouse Danvers had flagged, the one Hale Technologies used years ago. Its metal siding was rusting, windows shattered, the main door padlocked but loose on its hinges. Security cut the lock within seconds. Inside, the warehouse swallowed them in darkness. Marcus flicked on a flashlight. The beam cut through dust and shadows. Fan out, he ordered the guards. Check every corner. Leo held onto Marcus's coat as they stepped forward. Their footsteps echoed, rustling, a clang, then, a sound, soft, muffled, a cry. Leo stiffened. Mom. Marcus raised a hand to silence the guards. He followed the sound deeper into the warehouse, past old crates and stacks of abandoned machinery. A figure slumped against a support beam came into view. At first, Marcus thought it was debris. Then the flashlight caught a face. Elena. Her wrists were bound behind her. Her lip was split, dirt smeared across her cheek. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Mom. Leo screamed and ran to her. Elena's head jerked up, eyes widening with a mixture of horror and relief. Amor, she choked out. Leo. Oh God, Leo. The boy threw himself into her lap, sobbing. Marcus stepped closer as his guards carefully cut the ropes. Elena winced as her hands were freed. She pulled Leo close, pressing kisses onto his hair. Then her eyes found Marcus. She froze. Mr. Hale. Her voice cracked. Why are you here? You disappeared, Marcus said calmly. Your son came to me. Elena's eyes filled with tears. A mixture of humiliation and gratitude flickered in her expression. I didn't want him to get involved, she whispered. I told him to, only if something terrible happened. Something terrible did happen, Marcus said. Elena, who did this? Her jaw trembled. It was Brent Cobb. Marcus stiffened. Your supervisor. Elena nodded weakly. I filed a complaint. He cornered me after work. Said I'd ruined his career. Said no one would believe a support representative over him. Leo clung to her tighter. He forced me into a car. Took my phone. Brought me here. Said he'd teach me a lesson. Marcus's hand curled into a fist. Where is he? He asked coldly. Elena shook her head. I don't know. He left hours ago. Said he needed to come back later. Marcus turned to his security chief. Search the perimeter. If he's anywhere near here, I want him found. Leo whimpered, trembling violently now that the danger had passed. Marcus crouched beside them. You're safe now, he said softly. Both of you. Elena finally broke. Tears streaked down her cheeks. You saved us, she whispered. I didn't think anyone would. Marcus shook his head. You should have told me about the harassment. I didn't want to lose my job, she said. And I thought, people like you wouldn't care. Something in Marcus twisted painfully. People like me, he murmured, should have cared a long time ago. The hours that followed were a blur of sirens, statements, and medical evaluations. Brent Cobb was arrested attempting to flee the city in his pickup truck. The moment officers dragged him out in cuffs, Marcus felt a dark, satisfying closure settle in his chest. But the night wasn't done. Marcus drove Elena and Leo to the hospital himself. He waited while the doctors cleaned Elena's bruises. He bought Leo food, blankets, and a stuffed toy from the gift shop, something to hold on to after everything he'd endured. Past midnight, Elena stirred awake in her hospital bed. Why are you still here? She murmured, voice groggy. Marcus looked at her, tired yet resolute. Because you're my employee, he said. Because you matter. And because your son walked across the city believing I would help. I refused to prove him wrong. Alina's eyes softened. Gratitude washed over her like a breaking wave. Leo curled up beside her, fast asleep, clutching her hand. Thank you, she whispered. Truly. Marcus didn't reply immediately. He looked at the boy sleeping peacefully. For the first time in 24 hours. I should be the one thanking you, Marcus finally said. You reminded me of something I lost a long time ago. What's that? Elena asked gently. A sense of humanity, he said quietly. And the understanding that leadership isn't power, it's responsibility. In the weeks that followed, Hale Technologies transformed. An internal investigation uprooted a toxic hierarchy. HR was restructured. Anonymous reporting systems were redesigned. Harassment policies became zero tolerance. In Marcus, he began walking through the support floor almost daily. Not with a clipboard, not with cold indifference, but with intention. And every time he did, a small boy with mismatched socks and a bright grin would run up and say, "Sir, Mom made empanadas. She said your family now." And Marcus, once stone, now something softer, would smile back. Because a whisper from a frightened child had changed everything.